Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, back from Quebec, Canada, joined by Mr. Denny Carter and Kyle Dvorchak as we break down the entire Week 7 slate. That includes the Miami Dolphins at the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern this Sunday night on NBC and Peacock. Really, really good stuff. We're also going to go deep on the Chargers and the Chiefs, the Lions at the Ravens, the 49ers at the Vikings, and all 12 games not on the Thursday evening slate. But let us reference the intro. Let's take a little R&R time. Going to Quebec, whatever you want to call it. Very, very lovely province. I would recommend it to anyone. While I was gone, people had to step in. People had to do things. Denny did an admirable job hosting. Kyle did a Q&A solo. But, so Denny and I were known in the industry for kind of trying to be funny together, Denny. And sometimes
really? Is that?
Sometimes I don't think the rest of us knew that. With people, when you make jokes with people, you kind of start stealing each other's bits. And Denny has stolen a bit from me, and that is being violently ill. Trying to podcast through the vid, as it's known. Denny, how are you feeling?
I have felt better in my life. I'm at that point where everything hurts. I feel like I've been worked over by a boxer. It's a strange thing. Like it's like I've had my arms up and someone's just been working me over around the midsection. That's what it feels like because of the coughing and whatnot. But I made the mistake of leaving the house, and I think that you made that mistake too, Pat. And now you're not feeling well. So the key is from October 1st through June 1st. We must not leave the house.
No, never, ever.
Guys,
ever
I graduated college in, I think, 2018 or 19. Have not left the house since. Have you heard me be sick on this show once?
No,
you have not.
Kyle will never just have a kid once. I've gone on this rant before, but it is funny how before you have kids, like I haven't thrown up in 22 years. And when you have a kid, like it's been 22 days.
Yeah, right.
This last time I was in the fetal position with body aches from a virus I had never heard of before until my kid's pediatrician diagnosed me with it over the phone.
Yeah, right. I mean, you really, people like I actually came into fatherhood with that mindset. Like I don't get sick. Sorry if that upsets you, but I just don't get sick. And immediate 6 weeks after my son was born, I was like, I think I'm dying.
No, I was the ultimate not sick warrior. I haven't been sick since 1998, sixth grade or whatever. And 2016 comes around and I have hoof and mouth disease or whatever the one. I've actually that's actually one of the ones I've never caught and really do not want to catch. Never caught that one. We're gonna catch this one though.
Nice.
When we talk about football, we love to catch. We love our football. We love the Dolphins and Eagles, two of the only teams pledging to play a good football game for us this weekend. Denny Carter. Miami takes its football death machine on the road to Philadelphia, where they are 2-point underdogs. Tua smashed for every home matchup, but was quieter on the road against the Bills and Patriots. What is the outlook here for the Dolphins offense, Denny?
Well, look, the Dolphins are running it when they can, and that's reflected in their pass rate over expected. They here against the Eagles, I think that we're going to see something probably similar to Week 1 against the Chargers, where that was a shootout environment. That was back before the Chargers were bad, and this Eagles team should be able to push Miami. In that game, the Dolphins were 7% over their expected pass rate. So I think that opens up a potential ceiling outcome for Tua here. I mean, I'm not breaking any news here. These are two high-scoring teams that put a lot of emphasis on scoring points, which you can only say about, 6 to 8 teams in the league. And so when you get these two teams together, it could be a shootout. Obviously, you're starting Tua. I think this is one of the games where you don't really have to worry about Dolphins running and hiding like they have against inferior teams.
Yeah, and I left out the part about Tua hadn't been quite as explosive on the road, but like you said, it was kind of like the run and hide. He didn't have to do nearly as much against the Patriots, didn't have to do nearly as much against the Bills. Well, he needed to do something against the Bills. The Bills game was kind of the exception, but he did smash on the road in Week 1 against the Chargers. And I don't think you need to be concerned.
Yeah, and by the way, the Eagles have 14 defensive back injury, or I'm sorry, they've had 14 defensive backs play this season, right? Zach McPherson and Avonte Maddox are both done for the year for Philadelphia. So they're hurting in the secondary. So you would think that this Dolphins, as you said, death machine could get their way.
Kyle, I may have been in Quebec, but I did not miss Raheem Mostert scoring 3 total touchdowns. I almost said tutters. Didn't want to get another negative Apple review. 3 touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers. As I got some people, I had him, I think it's the RB9 last week, and I had some people tweeting him like, you got him too low. I'm like, dude, it's like how much high? I mean, I've got him pretty high. Like, how much higher do you want me to put Raheem Mostert?
Like
it turns out it needed to be higher. And
Yep.
Scored 3 touchdowns. Jeff Wilson did not return last week. He seems more likely to return this week. We still don't entirely know. But what does Jeff Wilson's impending return mean for Raheem Mostert, if anything?
Well, I think it was yesterday. That's the last time I was on news. Mike McDaniel said that he did not suffer any setbacks. They chose not to activate him because they wanted to use that spot on an offensive lineman. And then the OC said, I believe just a few hours ago, I guess it was probably this morning at this point, that, he basically said, he's like, yeah, it's nice to be at a point where you can healthy scratch a guy. That means like, that's a good thing for your roster. So though functionally like it wasn't a healthy scratch because he wasn't pulled off IR, the OC called it a healthy scratch. That's what it was, as a matter of fact. Chris Brooks got banged up at the very end of the game last week, so maybe that's the reason they bring him in now. But the fact that they just outright chose to bring up a backup lineman instead of him tells me that when he returns, it's going to be to a very minor role. We saw last week both of the backups split 6 carries apiece. Maybe they consolidate that to 8 for Jeff Wilson, but I mean, they could have had him on the roster last week and chose not to. They called it a healthy scratch, so I'm going to say, yeah, it really isn't going to impact me much. I'm still going to be ranking Mostert as a top 5 back.
Ooh, top 5 is very high, especially against the Eagles' run defense, which is still sort of good. But I've been looking very powerfully into who Chris Brooks is. And I do think with Mostert, the decline is coming at some point in the touches. I not to beat like a dead horse, but the way he wore down last year, the way they are always trying to add depth to this backfield, I don't think they're going to keep giving Raheem Mostert like 20 touches a game. Not that they've done it
the decline
that
comes
many
when they
times
get
this year.
back. I think when they get HN back, it will be a noticeable decline in touches. But until then, I'm not as concerned. I'll have to see the decline first, or I'll have to see HN come back. That's the other thing that happens. But if you're getting 15 touches in this offense, you're probably a top 5 or 6 running back. But when you can push for 20 touches in this offense, to me, that's like very obviously top 3 or 4 numbers.
When you're at home against really bad defenses, yes. On the road against this good run defense, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, but I would say that the Dolphins screen game is pretty killer. I mean, they really put their guys in good position, and so I think Mostert doesn't need 100 yards rushing, I think, to get there.
They use the screen game in the red zone too. He gets good red zone targets.
Right.
It's all purpose, all parts of the field. I'm with Danny. Like this is good.
I do think it's funny. I saw a post today. Dolphins fans are saying, why isn't Raheem Mostert in the MVP conversation?
By the way, I don't really buy the Jeff Wilson healthy scratch talk. It feels like a classic like coach lie to me. And I would still consider Jeff Wilson comfortably ahead of Salvin Ahmed on the depth chart, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know anything. Maybe I have no idea what's going on since I am just.
Yeah, I mean, they had to open up a roster spot for him. So to call it a healthy scratch is sort of what it's like in practice, but there's a little bit more technical nuance to it.
It just seemed like they didn't know who they wanted to cut yet, basically, is what I would say.
Yeah, that's it. And the fact that that's a conversation for Jeff Wilson is not good for his fantasy outlook. But I agree with you. When he comes back, you're right about him almost certainly being ahead of Salvin Ahmed. I'm just not sure if he's ahead enough that you even care.
Denny, what is going on with the Eagles pass catchers behind A.J. Brown, where DeVonta Smith, by the way, DeVonta Smith, Jaylen Waddle, and T. Higgins, they're all in like really good offenses. Are they proving there's just no such thing as trusting a good number 2 receiver in fantasy? The trope that this team, he's his wide receiver 2 on his own team, but he's a wide receiver 1 in my heart in fantasy. It worked last year. It's not working for any of them this year, though. Yeah, what is going on with the Eagles receivers? The pass catchers, I should say, behind A.J. Brown.
So I think that the idea that hey, why draft A.J. Brown at the 1-2 turn when you can get DeVonta Smith a round and a half, 2 rounds later, that proved to be faulty. thinking on my part.
We front ran how bad that idea was, I believe, on this show.
And then
I could have
and then
told you
did
it by looking at them. Stand them next to each other. That's your answer. Do what that tells you in your heart, and it would have been right.
That just means Kyle doesn't have his hand in the dirt. That's all that means. I mean, DeVonta Smith is a film guy's dream come true. Look, it's not close. Just to give folks an idea what's going on here. AJ Brown, 44% of the first read targets. Goddard and DeVonta Smith are tied at 23% of the first read targets. So that's a huge separation. Smith has been plagued by some drops. He had a pretty devastating drop for some of my fantasy teams last week against the Jets. He caught 5 of 11 targets in week 6 against the Jets. But hey, he did lead. You got this going for you. He led the team in targets per route run last week. So, in this environment, you can have some hope. This conversation would be totally different if he didn't completely fail last week, and he had all the opportunity.
Denny, but to steal a joke from you, as I talk about stealing bits, my family just nourished itself with a delicious meal of targets per route run, and really, really good stuff.
And now the kids are crying.
They are crying. What Dallas Goedert? What is this guy? He caught 5 passes last week.
Pat reading the box scores from last week live on the show, so he knows what happened.
Who cares? Producer Adam points out something I did just totally forget. Julio Jones is on the Eagles now.
Oh, right.
I don't know anything to say about that.
I think he's on the practice squad right now. I don't even know if they'll call him up this week. I mean, that's typical for veterans. They give him a week or two just to literally get their cardio up, I assume, and get up to snuff on the playbook. So, but even when he's back, it's cool. Julio was maybe the best receiver 2000 and beyond, something like that. But they're
looking very strongly at someone not being Quez Watkins, which is something they have needed to do for a while. It could be a situation.
They would do it in the draft. I thought they would be a team that could go like Josh Downs or something, and instead they're 33-year-old Julio Jones.
Julio tanked so bad at the Titans. He tanked with the Bucs last year, but this is a totally different situation. I think he actually could have success as a role player, but not in a way that translates to fantasy value.
Yeah, last season when he was playing alongside Tom Brady and he had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, you could see how that situation wouldn't.
You may have remembered, how horrible that offense was in practice, despite how
pretty
it was
mid
on paper. It's a different situation. What else is a different situation? Is a sport of basketball. We have a quick message on that, and we will be right back. Basketball season is almost here, and that means one thing: it is draft season. Get the Rotoworld Basketball Draft Guide, which includes all the rankings, player outlooks, and projections you need to win your league. Go to NBCSports.com to get your draft guide now and use promo code preseason25 to save 25% off and receive a $10 Fanatics e-gift card. The Atlanta Falcons, who had another great game last weekend, arrive in Tampa as roughly 3-point underdogs, Kyle. Everyone but you was out on Kyle Pitts. There were other people who weren't out on him too, but now he's had back-to-back usable outings. Is this a blip or a legitimate trend? We also want both of you to talk about, can Desmond Ridder keep passing this much? We've got an actual Desmond Ridder volume the past 2 weeks, but first, Kyle Pitts.
Pitts is number 1 in the NFL, or among tight ends, at least in air yards. He's top 10 in targets, and those numbers are even better when you are using market share stats. He is the focal point of this passing attack, and unlike most other tight ends in the NFL, he actually goes deep, moves the chains. But like you said, I don't think they can keep up this passing pace. It's not even a philosophical shift. Over the past 2 weeks, they have a negative 7% pass rate over expected. It's just that they've played in extremely close games, so you expect a team to throw a lot more than they did, in fact, despite that being something like 84 pass attempts, if I remember correctly. So that's what happens when you get in close games. Even run-heavy approaches, when adjusted for game scripts, still produce a lot of pass attempts. They're not very good, so they should continue to be in close games, though do I think we'll get another 47 attempt game from Ridder? No. So, yeah, we're probably due for we're definitely due for a Kyle Pitts dud. He's going to put up plenty of those this year. That's just the nature of playing in an offense that's so run heavy. And he's running fewer routes over the past 2 weeks, only about 2/3 of the team's routes, still getting targeted at a high rate, but that's also a bit of a concern. So I'm starting him this week because it's the George Kittle dilemma. How do you predict when the 103 touchdown, et cetera game? You don't, and you take your lumps and you say, it's tight end. Once every 3 weeks, I will annihilate my opponent. And the other weeks, their Hayden Hurst will score 4 more points than my Kyle Pitts. And that's an L I'm willing to take because it's a small L.
Yeah, tight end, before I get to Denny on Desmond Ridder, tight end has just become as bleak as I've ever seen a position where there's like maybe 7 or 8 like true starting level quality players. And beyond that, it's just like, well, this guy runs routes occasionally. I've heard of this guy. This guy's on the Bills, maybe. Michael Mayer, huh? Michael Mayer. Josh McDaniels, maybe just throw the ball to Davante Adams. But Denny, what did you want to say about Desmond Ridder?
Yeah, so Arthur Smith is kind of sort of conceding that he can't do this nerd owning run heavy thing and keep getting away with it.
I kind of agree more with Denny than what Kyle said, and we're going to let Denny continue. I just had to say that.
In the regression files this week, I wrote up Kyle Pitts and I ended up writing seriously like 500 words on the Falcons offense for some reason. Thank you to NBC for publishing that. Look, here's the thing. In 2022, their pass rate over expected was negative 23%. Okay. They never had a game with a pass rate over expected of higher than negative 4%. Now, over their past 3 games, guys, we're at negative 3%. Okay. This is progress in the right direction.
There are Bears, right? We needed them to get to average. We needed them to get to like the 24th or 5th in the league in pass attempts, in pass rate over expected, for us to care about DJ Moore and for us to like the passing production of Justin Fields. And they're kind of doing the thing.
They are kind of doing the thing. And look, Atlanta is facing 8 defenders in the box at the league's second highest rate, and they are not finding any success against those fronts. I think that they actually have been forced. Teams are selling out. Washington last week, like completely sold out to stop the run and did not care if Desmond Ridder dropped back, and they won. So I think we're going to continue to see that. And hey, that's great news especially for London. I think Drake London becomes like borderline elite with this sort of volume. And then you have usable guys like Pitts and like Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, it is funny. I say the past 2 weeks, I would not have remembered that Desmond Ridder had attempted at least 31 passes each of the past 5 games for the Falcons. I had definitely memory hold that. The problem is just that until he gets to an extreme level of volume, it's hard to notice Desmond Ridder volume because it's such low quality volume. And because it was weeks 2 and 3, it was 32 and 38 attempts for 237 and then 201 yards. And then 31 attempts for 191 yards. And against the Jaguars in London, it was really only his past 2 weeks we got into the upper 30s and then the 40s. And against the Commanders that it amounted to anything. But Kyle made some interesting points, but I do agree with Denny. Arthur Smith had claimed he was going to do this year. I think he knew he had reached the limits of the cloud of dust approach, and that it is kind of like, I don't know, a cry for help. I don't know what it is, but he's going through some sort of crisis where he's realized he has to pass. And man, I do wish someone could help Arthur Smith budget running back carries. And just because Tyler Algier, it's the same thing as it's the T. Higgins, Jamar Chase dilemma. Yes, Tyler Algier is good, and he didn't deserve for them to add a way better running back than him, but they did do that. And just because he is good and above league average doesn't mean he should still be getting 15 to 16 carries a week. It makes absolutely no sense. And these guys are, I will never, ever not be upset at NFL offensive coordinators, Denny.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson is a nice floor option for PPR purposes for now, and until things change, that's about it.
By the way, I was really struggling wrapping up my last thought. In case you didn't notice, I was like, the thought I have that I'm finishing. And can someone say something, please? Throw me a bone here. Somebody
throw you a bone.
Denny will never just throw me a bone. I apparently didn't ask any questions on the Bucs. We need to talk about the Bucs.
I think actually the Bucs backfield has devolved to the point where they have to throw. Like Rachaad White. I'm not going to bore people. I refuse to bore people. I will say that Rachaad White is horrific. Okay,
yeah, good.
Way off the charts bad. No hope. Abandon all hope on Rachaad White. It is Jover. Nothing has been ever more Jover than Rachaad White. And Keyshawn Vaughn is worse. He's worse than Rachaad White. And Sean Tucker is worse than Keyshawn Vaughn.
It's brutal, man. They cannot run the football.
In history.
We knew he was bad too, Rashad White. It turns out where he's even worse than like the low expectations we had. And yeah, not a great situation.
And so they have to throw, and that's great for Godwin and Evans. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Godwin and Evans. I'm glad someone said their names because I don't know. I guess,
good for SEO value. Next game.
Yeah, good for. I don't even I'm out of things to say about them already. Like, yeah, whatever. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Baker Mayfield. The Browns and quarterbacks unknown arrive in Indianapolis as approximately field goal favorites. Denny, what, if anything, did we learn about this Browns offense in last Sunday's upset of the 49ers? Is it going to be run-based, even if Deshaun Watson is back and even without Nick Chubb? Like, we thought maybe those hopes had died. I don't know. We knew that they might still remain run-heavy, but it seemed like we saw the return of the Browns blueprint in Week 6.
Yeah, I think that you're onto something there. Cleveland is under their expected pass rate in 5 of 6 games. Deshaun Watson came out this week and claims that he can't throw downfield or toward the boundaries, which seems bad.
A lot of the field is downfield and on the boundaries.
Yeah,
but then I think he's already tired of people tweeting about him because he surprisingly returned to practice on Thursday. So we just genuinely don't know who the Browns quarterback is going to be.
Yeah. But I think it was Adam Schefter who reported that this issue will not go away all year. He will not be 100% this year. So they have that going for him. And yeah, I think that they're going to revert to the run here. And in an absolute dogfight last week against a banged up Niners team, it worked.
Hold on. You're giving the Niners the banged up excuse.
Well, they lost all their good players.
I didn't know you're one of the banged up excuse.
Other than that, other than losing all the good players, how are they even banged up?
Even if they lost 2 of their good players, they still had like 5 more good players than the Browns did on offense.
I mean, look, that like a guy like Purdy is going to be completely exposed if he doesn't have the entire.
I know that. Lots of America doesn't know that, where they tweet that he's like a legitimate MVP contender and actually good.
Well, then he's speaking to America now. He's talking to the heartland.
Yeah, no, this guy is Tyson Bagent.
Even I won't go that far. Come on, man.
Anyway, he was exposed, and so yeah, I mean, I think Kareem Hunt really is gonna mess with Jerome Ford's situation. Browns fans were quick to tell me that, hey, Ford had a couple good rushes in the fourth quarter, and that's great for you guys. I'm so happy for you all. But I mean, overall, the usage was not great for Ford because Kareem Hunt is now a thing, including in the green zone.
Sort of, but he picks up like 2 new injuries every week. I'm not sure how worried I can really get about Kareem Hunt. Who seems like he's just breaking down. But maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's old and just returned. He just fell off the couch and started playing.
Kyle, it looks like you were maybe saving a thought there on the Browns backfield situation. Instead, I'll ask you about the Colts backfield situation, where it seemed like it didn't really clear anything up in Week 6. What is going on? Can we trust Jonathan Taylor as an RB2 yet? And why is the answer no?
Oh, I'm fine trusting him as an RB2.
Well, you have to this week with 6 teams on bye. I think I was
yeah.
RB21, but trust would be a strong word to slap on.
Yeah, I mean, last week things trended in the perfect direction in terms of the market share. They just got absolutely tanked and didn't get to run the football a lot. But he saw 53% of the team's carries. That was down like sub 20%. It was 18 actually in the week before that. He also improved his route rate from 14% to 37%. So he was clearly part of the plan in a more involved fashion than he was 2 weeks ago. It's just when you get blown up, you don't really get a chance to establish the run. So his market share numbers trended up tremendously, and I think that will only continue to move in the right direction. It's really just about the quality of the offense. And the good news for the quality of offense is that it's terrible, but it throws to the running backs. Gardner Minshew is going to pepper his running backs with targets. So even if it's a bad, we're behind type of offense, he could see a lot of targets, though I don't know exactly how they get him to like 25 carries in most games because they're just not that good.
Kyle, I said another Denny moment where the abundance just overfloweth for my family with the route rate for Jonathan Taylor, a running back.
He did stuff with the route too. He got like 5 passes for 50. He got like a nice little crossing route that he took for a long run.
Which brings not to totally sidetrack the podcast, but to totally sidetrack the podcast. Didn't Bijan run like the most routes of any running back in like 5 years last week? Like I don't know, maybe just use the between the tackles generational type running back that you used the number 8 pick on. Just maybe just use him as a running back. Has this occurred to anyone in Atlanta to maybe just use him as a running back?
Yeah, but he caught 5 passes. That's in your PPR leagues. That's like 50 yards.
Denny, any thoughts there? Why? why are they doing this? Why are they doing
I mean, because Arthur Smith is smarter than you. That's why.
this? Yeah, he's definitely far, far richer than me. He's the only FedEx heir currently coaching an NFL offense. And I think we're seeing not nearly as good results as we get from FedEx, I will say. Denny, any shot of the Gardner Minshew scam working here against the Cleveland Browns? Not for Minshew as a streamer, but for Michael Pittman as a wide receiver 2, Josh Downs as a wide receiver 3.
Yes, I do think. I mean, look, the Browns' opponents are being held to a disturbing number of plays per game throughout the season, so we're not excited about that. But I think that we could still see Minshew drop back 35 plus times here. That means
get sacked on 20 of them.
Well,
that still leaves a lot of dropbacks. That's the thing.
I mean, yeah, right. And so, you're talking about upwards of 10 looks for Pittman, maybe some for Downs. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get, like the super scam like we have in games past with Minshew, but yeah, I think that you're playing Downs in 12-team leagues and you can feel pretty good about Pittman, I think.
Ooh, I don't think I'm playing Downs in 12-team leagues, even with 6 teams on bye.
Man, I don't know. I feel like it's a pretty condensed.
Look at what they did to Brock Purdy, who has assumed the mantle of actually good Gardner Minshew.
This is a tough defense. I think they're first in the NFL in EPA per play allowed by a considerable margin, and they've actually been they were proved they can do it against well-coached teams like they did last week. This is on pace to be a historic defense. The thing is, PPR scams don't care too much. That's the reason they're a scam. If the defense is good, they just pile up the catches. So that's why I'm fine starting Downs, though I agree. This is a brutal matchup.
They're looking like the first kind of noteworthy defense since maybe the 2018 Bears with Vic Fangio, maybe the 2017 Jaguars. It had been a while since I felt like there was a noteworthy defense, and the 2023 Browns are trending in that direction. I would not be starting Josh Downs again. I like staying poor. The Chiefs and Chargers meet up on Sunday afternoon with a surprisingly low total of, quote, just 48, Kyle. It certainly did not look like Quentin Johnston had earned increased playing opportunities coming out of the Chargers' Week 5 bye. What is the lay of this receiver core land for the Chargers, who have a first-round receiver that they simply can't get involved over Josh Palmer? What do we tell the people?
Yeah, it's bad for Quentin Johnston. He ran a route on fewer than half team's dropbacks. They chose to play 12 personnel and get players like Donald Parham on the field over using him as a full-time receiver. And Josh Palmer is out there earning looks. Since they lost Mike Williams, I believe it's just 2 games without Mike Williams in their entirety, Palmer has a 28% target share and 42% of the team's air yards. So he is a true, in a game that I think is going to probably be a shootout, wide receiver 2 potential. He's Josh Palmer, so I'm only ranking him as a wide receiver 3. I can't bring myself to push this guy into the wide receiver 2 range, but that's going against the spreadsheets. They say his usage is really wide receiver 2 worthy. So he's definitely a 12-team starter for
you hit the nail on the head there with Palmer. Where it feels crazy, but especially with 6 teams on bye, he's flirting with being in the top 30. But he's in safe wide receiver 3 range. He's not a borderline wide receiver 3.
Yep.
Which should not be possible with Josh Palmer, but that's where the Chargers are. That's where we are. Denny, do we expect immediate Mecole Hardman snaps in the struggling Chiefs receiver core where they played the world historic bad Broncos defense last year? The Broncos defense has finally stabilized a little bit, and we still just got nothing. We got 75 yards from Rashee Rice, but Rashee Rice continues to be the guy who pops a little bit every week over Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. But clearly, they have the same assessment of this receiver core that we have, is that it needs help. We know that Mecole Hardman won't produce standalone fantasy value, but do you think he's going to get in there and shake up the route percentages, the snap percentages, so on and so forth?
I would be a little bit surprised if he immediately stepped in and did that. Justin Watson is a pretty big loss for this receiving corps, which is pretty
sickening.
Shocking to say. But he's accounted for 25% of the team's air yards, which is just behind Kelsey, number 2 on the team. MVS is the only other receiver on the Chiefs with a similar ADOT to Watson. So I guess that means more dumb downfield targets for MVS. Rashee Rice, it's hard to project much for him because his route rate is very stubbornly sitting at 30% on the season. The one upside is that Rashee Rice is second on the team in first read targets. So when he's out there, they're clearly trying to get him the ball, but it would be cool to see him out there more, I guess. If you have Hardman, unless you're in a super deep league, I think just cool your jets.
Yeah. Why do you have Hardman? Here's the question. Why do you still have Mecole Hardman on your team?
No, I wasn't even assuming anyone did. I just was wondering if it was going to lead to cuts in playing time for certain players. And I guess he could just be assuming the mantle of like basically like drawing cover down the field of Justin Watson. And he's still a fast guy. Like she started using him like a lot more underneath towards the end. But I don't think he would be a healthy scratch. I don't know why he would be. He knows the system more than anyone. I'm assuming he can just hit the ground running for the Chiefs this weekend. And yeah, not assuming any standalone value for Mecole Hardman. But by the way, it's like this is like might be the most like I complain about like Arthur Smith like over designing his offense. Like the Chiefs offense is kind of veering in that territory. It's like okay, we get Kadarius Toney out there for 10 snaps and we target him on 7 of them. And then the same for Rashee Rice. Like, I don't know, maybe just let someone play a bunch of snaps and see if they get better at football. Like,
they tried that with Sky Moore. Boy, did that not work.
They did try that with Sky Moore.
They tried that with MVS. Boy, did that not work.
No, it's true. When you put it that way. Any concern from either of you about how Justin Herbert looked playing through his finger injury on Monday? I didn't really see much of this game. I did see his hellacious end-of-game pick. How did he look playing with non-throwing hand, of course, but having a broken finger on either hand greatly complicates playing quarterback. Do we think Herbert can get home, hopefully, in the shootout? Either one of you have Justin Herbert thoughts?
I think that it's not guaranteed by any means because the Chiefs defense is unfortunately really good this year. It's really bringing me down, guys. The fact that Mahomes and the Chiefs offense really doesn't have to score a bunch of points most weeks, and that we're not getting a bunch of garbage time points from the other side of the ball in these matchups. So, I mean, yeah, you're starting them, but like, wow, these are not your grandfather's Mahomes Chiefs. Let's put it that way.
No, yeah, their implied team total is just below the Broncos and just above the Saints. Like both those teams are north of 20, but that's a very low mark that I'm setting just to give them some credit. Vegas is clearly concerned that they're on the road against a good defense and maybe baking in some of the Justin Herbert could still be dinged up by he is hurt. It's just how does it affect him? So, but yeah, Vegas thinks that they're not a particularly exciting offense. Like Denny said, you're not benching Justin Herbert, but keep your expectations in check. And I think, Pat, I don't know if you said this in the intro, I would have thought this was like a 51, 52 point total. I really thought this was a game where you'd look across all the games on the week. Actually, it opened at 52 at some books, apparently, and has come down. So
48 stunned me. I don't know what it's at this exact moment. It was 48.
I still see 48 as well, at least on one book. So that's a good total. But Vegas doesn't expect the shootout of all shootouts. It's far from the highest total of the week. So.
It is. Yeah, it's a good total, but not the great total we've gotten used to with both these teams, especially when they're facing each other.
Yeah.
We will be right back after this. This Sunday evening, 2 of the NFL's most explosive offenses meet in Philadelphia when the high-flying Dolphins take on the Eagles. Get ready for what could be a shootout at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock. And don't forget, find all your favorite NBC sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. The promo was written in Eastern time, and I still read it in Central time, the only legitimate time zone.
Let's relax.
Pre-game show featuring fantasy football happy hours. Matthew Berry begins at 6 p.m. Central. I was in the Eastern time zone watching sports for like 5 days, man. I don't know how you guys do it. Like, this stuff is crazy.
Well, I just don't.
It's just absolutely crazy. A game starting at 8:20. Like, what do we think this is?
Yeah, well, college football games start at 10:30 p.m.
Yeah, it's totally untenable. Someone needs to look into it very, very strongly. That person will be Denny Carter, one day appointed to that position, which will at one point exist in the United States government.
It'll be a cabinet position.
It will be. It should be cabinet level already. The fading Arizona Cardinals arrive in Seattle as touchdown plus underdogs, Denny. Geno Smith has had a very rough go of it of late. Some might say he has been getting exposed, but is this the spot where he gets back on track?
Well, look, Geno is in the regression files, folks, because Geno has been ice cold in the red zone. Geno has the 5th most red zone pass attempts with 29. He has just 5 red zone touchdowns on those throws. He has a 41% completion rate inside the 20. That's the third lowest among qualifying quarterbacks. So it's been pretty bleak in the red zone, but he's still getting those opportunities. I think this is the get right spot because, folks, the Cardinals, they stink.
They do stink. They were scrappy. They were scrappy due for a few weeks, but it turns out, yeah, indeed, confirmed horrible.
They were scrapping. There's no longer much scrapping going on. The Cardinals are allowing the third highest completion rate over expected, and the Cardinals are pressuring the quarterback at the league's third lowest rate. And Geno has traditionally ripped defenses apart when not pressured. So we are going to see Geno get back to it this week.
Well, that's what I was wondering, though. I wonder if he's been so bad in the red zone. Like, I don't have the numbers in front of me. Because he's been like getting pressured at very high rates in the red zone.
Has, yes.
Anecdotally,
bad luck then.
Anecdotally, the game ending on a 4th and something massive sack last week would say you're right. I don't know if you saw that play, but
I did not see that play.
Yeah, I believe it was 4th and 7. They're in the red zone, and he just takes a bad sack. Don't even get a pass off, and game's over.
That used to be the Geno special until last season. Really hope he is not actually regressing. Someone who's been regressing sort of to the mean in a positive way is Kyle JSN. He's not at all living up to summer ADP or first round billing yet, but the usage has gotten a little better. The production has by no means been good, but has gotten better. What is the state of the Jackson Smith and Jigba Nation right now?
We're rising up. The nation is healing after a long first 5 or so weeks. Like you said, the fantasy points still haven't gotten there yet, but we don't care about fantasy points. We've talked about this plenty of times. Fantasy points aren't scored by fantasy points. They're scored by underlying nerd statistics at the end of the day. And we're starting to get there with those. Nope, Pat, I know you think you need to actually win your fantasy games to win the league and whatnot. You don't. You need route rates. And boy, we have our route rates. Season high 81% route rate last week. That is like a true meaningful part of the offense. And it was also a season high in ADOT. In fact, every single week has been a season high ADOT for him. Every single week, they have slowly been letting him work the ball a little more downfield. He also had a play last week where he was like wide open for a potential touchdown. Geno just doesn't throw it to him. So he's out there. Like he's actually out there getting non-running back targets. I don't know if it's going to result in even wide receiver 3 numbers because he plays on an offense that is filled with like 2 star receivers who should earn the ball a ton. But he's also really good and starting to get real usage. So I'm optimistic that he could maybe be a flex play in the coming weeks. And they have a high team total this week. They face, as Denny pointed out, very bad defense. Geno not going to be under pressure this week. I'm gonna say you can start him. 16 every time. Ooh. You question me on can you start this guy? 6 teams on bye. Cannot stress enough. More than 5.
You really cannot stress enough the 6 teams on bye thing this week. And by the way, Kyle, speaking of stat nerds, your video is getting a little shot. I think you might need to close some of your 420 open tabs. Close at least 110 of your tabs. Do either one of you have thoughts on the Cardinals backfield? I just wrote making sense of the Cardinals backfield. Keontae Ingram, kind of not surprisingly, was the lead dog over Amari DiMercato in week 6. But Damian Williams is like on the Cardinals now, apparently. Like anything to tell people about this Arizona backfield, Denny? If the answer is no, that's fine.
Yeah, you're right. I looked into it strongly, honestly, and there was no like huge takeaway here. Like DiMercato played a bunch of like empty snaps in frantic comeback mode, but didn't get targeted. So I think Ingram is the only viable starting option that you could use here. DiMercato is not it. The kids are saying it's not it.
It's Jover. Yeah, it's very, very Jover. He's not coming Brock. The embarrassing New England Patriots are approaching being 10-point underdogs for Sunday's home game against the Buffalo Bills, who have made a habit of just embarrassing the New England Patriots. I think they did it, 3 times 2 years ago, at least twice last year. Kyle, but we don't have to look far to find the Bills not coming close to covering against a vastly inferior opponent. I witnessed that in French Canada on Sunday night against the New York Giants on NBC. Is being simulcast on some French station. Any worry about the Bills' offense after what happened on Sunday evening?
No, because in totality, Josh Allen is playing some of his best football, despite the sort of weird start. I believe the very first game was that Jets game. It was very odd performance from Josh Allen, but he is not only normalized, but looks incredible. He's 3rd in the NFL in EPA per dropback. He's first and completion percent over expected. Not something I would have expected from him coming into the season. I think he does a lot of his sort of damage with his legs, both in that he has like incredible EPA stats when he runs, but also he can avoid pressure very well and complete what seems like normal passes in a spreadsheet until you watch the play and you're like, oh, every other quarterback except Mahomes gets sacked there. But he's also just been really accurate when adjusting for his target depth. So if you look in totality, he is as elite as he's ever been. No concerns.
Yeah, I agree with that takeaway.
By the way, I look, this is a tough blow for both of you guys. Josh Allen told the Monday Night Crew, or no, wait, when did they play? They played Sunday night on
NBC on Sunday night.
You watched it because it's on
your coworkers. Yeah. Your coworkers, Denny.
I'm sorry, I was busy hosting the Sunday night podcast, but
I was busy watching it in French.
Yeah, well, that must be nice. It's very fancy. I'm sure you're drinking a cappuccino while you're doing that. Listen, Josh Allen told the Sunday Night Crew, he said the Josh Allen of old is over. Like, I'm not being crazy anymore. There's no more crazy Josh Allen. And this is what I'm saying, guys. He has fully adjusted.
That has scanned, and at least in the box scores, like how the eye test, you still see enough crazy legs, Josh Allen.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
It doesn't think he's maybe genuinely changing. By the way,
I'm done hurdling linebackers. You know how many times I've told my family that I don't hurdle linebackers anymore. I don't jump over them. I don't dive head first into cornerbacks. I always do it still. We'll see about that, Josh.
By the way, French Canada, they broadcast every game in baseball. Football, they kind of give up and just take the English feed a lot. Not sure. Roger Goodell, you need to grow the game in Quebec. That's all I'm saying.
Denny, I think cappuccinos are Italian.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that.
You need to grow the game in Quebec, Commissioner Goodell.
Right.
One of the things I missed on vacation, Denny, was anything change in this Bills backfield? Like, does James Cook run routes again yet, or are they throttling off that still for some reason?
No, it's actually horrible. It was a two-man backfield against the Giants. James Cook had 14 carries. Latavius Murray had 12. Cook was way more effective with his, but that doesn't matter. We all know that it actually doesn't matter what happens on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's no difference between good and bad things to every play caller when it comes to allocating running back carries.
There's
zero difference.
You say it matters that Tony Ballard's good. I say it doesn't. That's the way it goes. James Cook had 12 routes to 11 for Latavius Murray. So it is. Look, I'm a James Cook guy, but I am now a James Cook doomer. Okay, it is Jover. It's just Jover. I'm sorry. James
Kyle
Cook
saw me mime a spit take when you said that he ran one more route than Latavius. Like, what are we doing here?
One more route.
I thought he was supposed to only be able to catch passes. Now all of a sudden he's running as many routes as Latavius Murray.
I would say Latavius has a more clear path to like an elite workhorse role than James Cook.
No, well, you know what is going to happen is that for like almost literally the fourth or fifth straight year in December, the Bills coaches are like, yeah, maybe we should stop having a three-man back.
You're right.
And then Leonard Fournette is getting all of the carries. My best ball team's seeing Leonard Fournette on this team so bad.
The Bills are going to lose back-to-back primetime games around Thanksgiving, and then in December it's going to magically be a one-man backfield.
They always do that. Oh, right. Devin Singletary's our best.
Devin Singletary's season was fun. That was wild.
Yeah. It was very fun. I don't know. I wrote Pat's receivers. I mean, we don't actually have to talk about this.
Well, I mean, Kendrick Bourne's seeing 1 trillion targets a week. That's fun.
That's another thing. Maybe just give Kendrick Bourne a lot of targets. The only actually above average player in the entire receiver corps. Like every third week, they like admit that, and then they always throttle off the phone.
They do kind of forget it at some point. Devontae Parker came back, and they're like, we got to give up the Kendrick Bourne thing. Bourne's like good, I think. He's good. He
is very good. He has very high dog levels. He was identified by the Shanahan coaching tree. He's confirmed good. The Patriots paid him. They knew he was good.
Yeah.
And then they
forgot for a little bit. They remembered last week, though. So you flex this guy.
Is Malik Cunningham getting in this game, by the way?
He got like 5 snaps last week, and his only like drop back, he took a sack, I think.
Taysom season. Great. The Lions and Ravens. Excuse me. The Lions and Ravens square off in Baltimore, with the Ravens operating as tasteful 3-point favorites. This feels absurd. I can't speak today. This feels absurd to me, Denny, though it's based in part on the Ravens' elite defensive passing peripherals. I said absurd, the Lions being 3-point underdogs. Again, those passing peripherals are amazing for the Ravens' pass defense, but if you look at their schedule, they have faced like almost literally nobody. It's been an extremely soft schedule. Is there still hope for Jared Goff to get home in this matchup?
I think there is. Baltimore is a slight pass funnel. I think no David Montgomery means that they will have to lean on the pass like we saw last week where Jared Goff threw 44 times and Detroit was 14% over their expected pass rate against Tampa. I think we could see something similar here. I mean, the Ravens have faced a bunch of really bad quarterbacks. The best quarterback they faced is CJ Stroud in literally his first NFL
I was
game.
hoping you were saying that. Can I read the slate real quick? They faced CJ Stroud in his debut, Joe Burrow on one leg, Gardner Minshew, whoever the Browns started in week 4. It wasn't Deshaun Watson, I don't think.
And if it was, that's not good.
No, whoever the Steelers started in week 5, it was Kenny Pickett. It's been
not good
very,
also.
very bad. Yeah, it's been extremely sought. Jared Goff should never be the best quarterback you faced through your first 7 games. And he's going to be the best quarterback faced.
I know I'm not going to get into the DFS weeds here, but Kyle, I feel like a Lion stack is a good little anti-chalk play here for DFS.
Oh, that feels really. And producer Adam points out it was the fabled DTR starting for the Browns in week 4, who had, I think, one of the actual worst starts of the 21st century.
One of my like very hardcore Browns friends said it was one of the 5 worst Browns starts he's ever seen, and not top 3, but he said it was probably top 5 of his lifetime. They have played in the 2010s, the 20.
They've seen some stuff. Browns
Hugh
fans
Jackson era. They have seen some of the most heinous things, and DTR got on the list.
It really was that bad. Kyle, David Montgomery is out. Josh Reynolds was not practicing on Wednesday. I actually haven't seen his Thursday status. Jahmyr Gibbs seems like he's lurching towards finally returning. Is it Gibbs' season against the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, I think it'll be Gibbs' season. This team has run the ball extremely efficiently. They have one of the best run blocking lines in the team, and they have the intention to run whenever they get the opportunity. And this is at least projected to be a close game, like a 3-point spread field goal. I don't expect them to be forced to take to the air a ton, even if it's maybe a slight bit of a pass funnel, as Denny was saying. So I think if you're getting one of the most valuable backfields with a first-round pick, who we saw the last time David Montgomery missed, they gave him plenty of work. I don't think he's as good on that, like between the tackles, Dave Montgomery style work. But like we've said throughout, the theme of the show is no difference between good and bad things. 17 carries on a really good team is 17 carries. You're playing him. Craig Reynolds got up to a limited practice.
He did. He returned to practice. Listed with the hamstring and the toe. That seems very, very painful. But he'll probably be playing if he's already limited on Thursday. Denny, I just wrote Ravens pass catchers ellipses. Like the receiver core might be worse than last year, how was that? I don't think that was even in the range of outcomes. What's the latest update here?
Latest update is it's either Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews, and that's about it. Like everybody else is kind of splitting up routes. No one has a really strong target per route run rate besides those two, and so I do think it's fairly straightforward. I mean, I guess if I had to start a non-Flowers, non-Andrews Baltimore pass catcher, I suppose it would be Nelson Aguilar.
I was hoping you were going to say it because it's a Denny answer, but it's also the correct answer.
Yeah. So I like when those two align.
It's true. It's true. It is disappointingly often, I must say.
Thank you.
But I mean, Rashad Bateman, you want to talk about Jover?
Oh no! I didn't even think of Bateman. I wouldn't even think
over anymore. The Rams and Steelers meet up in Los Angeles, California, with the Steelers operating as surprising 3-point home underdogs. You guys see what I did there? Stadium's gonna be totally taken over by Steelers fans. Do you get it?
We get it.
I got it.
What is the actual over/under on the percent of Steelers fans at SoFi Stadium? Quote this Sunday. I would legitimately say it'll be 73% Steelers fans.
I was going to say 65 or 70, so same.
70, that actually might be low. We might be really undershooting it. But the Steelers, 3-point road, quote, underdogs. Any words of wisdom, Kyle, on the Steelers offense coming out of their bye week? Deontay Johnson is coming off injured reserve.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably play Deontay. He earned a 14% target share playing like half of his first game. And in that game, we saw George Pickens clearly he was going to be on pace to be this team's distant second receiver. Every quarterback who's ever played with Deontay Johnson they're mostly bad somehow. Pittsburgh have a very bad run of quarterbacks, but Ben Roethlisberger, Trubisky, Duck Hodges, all of these guys, Deontay Johnson is on the field and they say, I'm targeting that guy. What he does with the ball as it hits his hands, and then should he catch it after the catch, we're not getting into that right now. he gets targeted a lot, and that's bad for Pickens. So probably playing him. I'm probably not playing Pat Freiermuth in his first game back. He wasn't particularly productive when he was on the field early in the season, and it's not a particularly good offense. So I think Deontay Johnson, though maybe a little bit risky, we could see a scaled back route rate for him in his first game back, is probably still the only guy I'm really interested in starting. I guess you can still maybe take a flyer on Pickens, but it wasn't off to a good start in week 1.
You might say that's a small sample. Sorry, Daniel, you might say it's a small sample size of George Pickens since it was literally 1.5, but I think you hinted at it like perfectly. There were something about Deontay Johnson. It makes it very easy for quarterbacks to target him. For George Pickens can be a really effective NFL player, but it's not easy for NFL quarterbacks to target. You have to be willing to like thread the needle down the field. Not much indication Kenny Pickett is that guy. And George Pickens is just kind of like in the wrong place at the wrong time, I feel like, right now. Even though Kenny Pickett had been having more success with him this year than he did last year, it just does feel very, very bad for for George Pickens with Deontay Johnson coming back.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to start Pickens in 12-team leagues.
I think you do.
But you just gotta adjust your expectations. 24% target per route run rate for Pickens when Deontay was out. That drops down to 15% when Deontay Johnson is in. So, he's going to have to hit the big one, and he's going to get none of those nice, like intermediate, smooth over type targets.
Denny, any concern at all about Puka Nacua? 11 targets 2 weeks ago, but only 7 catches for 71 yards in Cooper Kupp's first game back. Then against we said the very badly fading Cardinals defense, only 4 catches on 7 targets for 26 yards. Anything concerning the underlying metrics, or just a 2-game cold streak that happens to coincide with Cooper Kupp's return?
We at Puka Nation want to state that we are as confident as ever in our guy. The fact that Cooper Kupp is dominating since his return does not worry us at all. But here's the thing. Look, so in 2 games with Kupp in the lineup, Puka Nacua has been targeted on 28% of his routes. That's pretty strong.
That's very strong.
He has a nearly 30% target share overall. He leads Cooper Kupp in end zone targets 3-2.
Dropped one of them last week. He had it in his hands. That would have saved the day.
He did drop a pretty easy touchdown. Cooper Kupp has an unbelievable 41% first read target share, but Puka's at 31%, which is top 16 among receivers over the last 2 games. So it's not like he's been phased out. Stop saying he's been phased out. It's hurting my feelings.
It basically sounds like every other Rams pass catcher is just down ferocious.
So they don't exist, man.
They're not even around anymore.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell Nation, for those wondering, not handling things well.
They are not even around anymore. So, yeah, Tutu, that one was fun while it lasted. I don't mean that sarcastically. It was fun while it lasted.
No, yeah, it was. And also, Tutu is still on the field 100% of the snaps, basically.
He is running a lot of routes. They run a ton of 3 wide, and obviously like Van Jefferson's not there to take the routes anymore. He's their clear third receiver. Just for guys like him and Higbee, how are you going to earn targets when Cooper Kupp is the best target earner in the NFL and Puka is an incredibly good target earner as well? Right. Those 2 guys being on the field at the same time is death for the rest of the pass catchers.
Kyle, in French Canada, I heard reports of multiple Rams running backs being injured in week 6. Can you tell? Kyron Williams out a while. Ronnie Rivers out a while. What is this? They signed Darrell Henderson. They signed.
They claimed
Royce
Myles
Freeman?
Gaskin. Royce Freeman was already on the practice squad.
Okay, that's right. He's already on the practice squad.
Likely be called up again for this game. They claimed Myles Gaskin off of waivers from the Vikings. Maybe there's some overlap there in knowing the system because the Vikings are a Shanahan disciple team. That's part of the reason I think they got Akers. So
they're McVay disciple team.
They're McVay disciple team with Kevin O'Connell. I guess that's also true. They're deeper in the legacy. I meant Kevin O'Connell is a McVay disciple. So maybe he can get up to speed a little bit quicker than your average guy off the street would. And then they have Zach Evans, who was like a late pick, I believe. He was a backup throughout his career in college at TCU, Kendra Miller at one point, then transferred to Ole Miss, back up to Quishon Judkins, who's really good. Career backup is not great. He was a 5-star recruit. He's got that going for him. But I'm not playing a single guy. Why would you? They have 4 legitimate players who could go out and lead the team in carries. I have zero faith in my ability to pick them. If I had to rank them, I would go Zach Evans, then Myles Gaskin? You tell me. I don't know. Like,
it does seem like one of those situations where, I mean, Zach Evans got some work against the Cardinals, but he was like the guy who happened to be there at the time. And then now with an actual week to game plan, they might give it to someone, who has a much longer NFL track record, and all those other guys do. And I wouldn't be surprised if like Zach Evans were doing an active Sunday.
yeah.
Someone says in the Rotoworld, Zach Evans healthy scratch, lol.
And then you are getting me with profanities I would never say on this show, because I've got like, I have them in all of my season-long leagues. I have 20% in DFS, something stupid like that. So yeah, I would totally avoid this. I think with both Ronnie Rivers and Kyren Williams being out, not only this week, Rivers on IR out 4 to 6 weeks. Kyren not going on IR suggests it's 4 weeks or fewer, but still, he could push up to that 4 weeks.
He could also go on IR on Saturday.
He could, yeah. They could just end up putting him on IR too. So I will say the one thing that impacts outside of the backfield is they had been running successfully in the red zone quite well. Kyren was top 5 in red zone carries, and I believe tied for first or second in red zone touchdowns. I don't think they will have the confidence to give all of those red zone looks to Zach Evans or Darrell Henderson. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the one area of Stafford's game that's been tremendously lacking. Is he's top 5 in passing yards. He's something like 16th or 17th in passing touchdowns.
We all know why that is. They cannot have it be interception season in the red zone. They just refuse to have it be interception season in the red zone.
Well, they might try this week, because the alternative is Zach Evans season.
Humble season, yeah. And for everyone who mocks when I pronounce LOL as LOL, that would be Zach Evans healthy scratch, LOL. So just in case you're wondering. The Raiders are 3-point road favorites for a potential Tyson Bagent and Brian Hoyer showdown. Jimmy Garoppolo has been ruled out. Did I not hear you say that before?
Schefter reported it, or Schefter, sources reported it. He's almost certainly right. Jimmy Garoppolo not playing this week. And he didn't say who the backup.
Say not to get political, is it Brian Hoyer or AOC?
Oh.
Come on. I'm just saying, is it AOC or Brian Hoyer starting?
Also, not to get political, a very apolitical man myself, I think it's Brian Hoyer. AOC was not particularly good in the start. We saw him
better than Brian Hoyer. I mean, Brian Hoyer is like the class. There's a better idea than starting. I don't know what it is, but there's always a better idea than starting Brian Hoyer.
Hey. I like. Let's get one for the old guys. Come on.
Yeah, let's do that. But anyways, could be Tyson Bagent versus one of those guys. Denny, how is Justin Fields' absence going to affect these Bears pass catchers? DJ Moore had really reestablished himself as a top 10 wide receiver before Justin Fields injured his thumb in week 6.
Yeah, look, this is bad. It's bad. But here's what the mainstream media won't tell you about Tyson Bagent. Okay, here's some things that I found on the internet. He holds his school, and his school, by the way, is Shepherd University.
So can you say what division of college football Shepherd is in?
I actually don't know.
Is it in the
I think shockingly they're only D2. They sound like a lower.
It is D2. It is D2.
They sound lower than D2.
Could have sworn they were in the Big Ten.
So he holds a lot of records, including most completions in a game versus Kutztown. Okay,
it's not a real American.
That's actually one of my favorite Premier League teams.
Most completions in a season in 2022. Most completions in a career. Okay, this guy is the greatest quarterback to ever come out of Shepherd University, and no one will talk about it.
No, he also took like 8 sacks versus Colorado School of Mines. I saw someone else tweet that.
Yeah. So no, it's I mean, I have DJ Moore on every team, and I'm not starting him.
So. Well, what do you mean not starting him?
Tyson Bagent's going to be the worst starting quarterback we've seen in a while.
He is, but I mean, if 6 teams on bye, I don't think you can bench DJ Moore.
I'm not gonna have
this. He's not. Right. You're saying he's outside the top 36? I kind of have a hard time.
Well, maybe I'm taking a little far. I'm just.
Then he also has a lot of good receivers to choose from.
I do. So I'm actually playing McLaurin over Moore. Like that's basically.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, right.
Well,
but
I don't know if I'd go that far for sure.
Oh, I do.
No.
Sure.
I know what I'm saying is I can do that. I guess some folks can't. I feel bad for those folks.
What if there's no real difference between Sam Howell and Tyson Bagent?
Oh, come on. No. This is awful. This is really bad. And by the way,
pretty bad.
This Justin Fields injury, like I would not be surprised if he does not play again this year.
And the Bears they're in hell. They are just like seriously in hell. They never committed to the tank. They never like fully committed to Justin Fields, even though they tried to give off that appearance.
I
Now
mean,
it's like another.
I'm gonna
it's
say
another
they're
hold
committed
the-
to the tank.
Another
They're
hold the line season. I don't know about that.
No,
They
they're
are
odds on favorites, big time to get the number 1 overall pick because
they're
they
not
have the Panthers.
saying it's not by choice though. They weren't like committed to the tank. They're just tanking. They just happen to be. Tanking.
I don't know.
They're a team currently experiencing tanking. And there wasn't a-
Fair, I agree with that. I'm not sure that there's a strong difference between like we lucked into being the worst team in football, or we
Because the strong difference is that the second Justin Fields' thumb is healed, he's going to be back out there.
Sure, but they really weren't winning games with him, so it's all right.
They were going to win last week. They were going to win
Yeah,
last
that's
week.
true. They would have, yeah.
We got screwed. Kyle, you may be shocked, but Davante Adams is once again angry. He's very upset with his role in the Raiders offense. Is Jacoby Myers actually closing the usage gap with the one guy in the NFL whose usage has always seemed unassailable in Davante Adams?
I mean, Myers, in a descriptive sense, is closing the usage gap. Over the past 2 weeks, we've seen Davante Adams' target share plummet to 16%. Jacoby's is at 30%, which is massive. He's also seeing a bunch of first read targets. But in a predictive sense, I'm going to lean on the prior. Davante Adams is like one of the best receivers this side of Calvin Johnson, like one of the best 5, give or take.
He's now also, quote, big mad.
Yeah. The only thing that would slow him down is the backup quarterback situation. But even then, I'm confident in him getting a bunch of targets from this backup quarterback, whoever it may be. And if you ask me, I'm going to need a lot more games of Jacoby Myers, who I think is good, out targeting Davante Adams to believe an actual flip has happened. And like you said, cannot stress enough, he's pissed.
Again, not to get political, Davante Adams needs to vote AOC, though, because with Josh McDaniels, Brian Hoyer, and Jacoby Myers, there will be a Patriots conspiracy. Brian Hoyer is under center.
Oh, yeah.
These expats guys, they cannot give it. It's like being like in some like elite military unit. They all have like tattoos on their arms that say like Pats 07 to 012 or 012. Pats 07 to 12.
There's
And
an O before the 12 in some sense.
they still consider themselves New England Patriots and not Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
And he will be feeding Jack Myers, as he's known on my show sheet. And Davante Adams is in real trouble and needs to force a trade. Right there.
Where do you want him to go? I want him to go to the Chiefs.
Denny's
but
right.
obviously
It's not
doing it.
happening.
It's not happening, especially because like McDaniel is very much, Josh McDaniel is very much like hot seat adjacent. How can you afford to like concede at this point when you'll have a pretty horrible record by the end of the season after 2 years? So it's not happening, but a better universe, it does happen.
It'd be cool if the Chargers got him.
Yeah, they're not doing it. I'm scanning through the teams. I can see the Cowboys like doing it for no reason.
Oh, that'd be fun.
It would be kind of fun. I can see the Lions now. The Lions wouldn't do it.
They're not a flashy team like that.
No, I don't know who. There's no one really standing out here. Producer Adam saying the Lions. I think he's not redundant to Amon-Ra. They're actually sort of different. They need receiver help. The Lions do badly, but I don't know if they would be willing to pay I don't know. I'm gonna stop saying I don't know and squinting at my screen, looking at
riveting podcasting.
So Bears backfield. Roshan Johnson still concussed. Travis Homer is practicing. Deontay Foreman was out there last week. What do we say about the Bears backfield? I didn't assign this to either one of you. I was hoping one of you had thoughts on it.
I appreciate that. I mean,
it's a grimacing situation.
I mean,
Roshan almost certainly not playing this week. He was a DNP on Thursday as well. I don't know if I've ever seen a player DNP on Thursday with concussion and show up, even if he has had a longer time to recover from it. He's not playing this week. So, and Homer probably is. Limited practices are a good sign that he's playing. That probably takes some routes and even carries off the table for Deontay Foreman. The only thing you can say is that because both these teams are starting backup quarterbacks, it's hard to imagine the Bears getting blown out. They're also probably not blowing out their opponents, but I expect a lot of running from both these teams. So 6 teams on bye. I don't know if you heard, but there's six teams on bye.
Deontay, I'm going to keep him around the top 20.
Oh, I'm not top 20. I'll have him top 36, though.
I'll give him top 20. I mean, the totals, not this should work in his favor. At 37.5, and the Raiders only being 3-point favorite, no one's expecting a blowout. I think there could be a decent amount of play volume just leading, like spilling over into maybe the emptiest calorie volume ever, but like a pretty decent amount of volume for Deontay Foreman. Seems plausible to me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Whatever. Who cares? Yeah, truly, none of us do care. Licking their wounds from a surprising Browns defeat, the 49ers arrive in the Twin Cities as 7-point favorites, Kyle. Are there any lasting takeaways from that game in Cleveland, or was it just a case of a defensive buzzsawing, and several 49ers skill players getting injured, and, of course, immediately creating a new free pass for Brock Purdy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you heard this, but a bunch of their players are banged up. Trent Williams, we didn't mention him earlier, was also banged up in that game. I think he was trying to play through whatever was ailing him. It was like ankle or knee, something like that. Hammy. I'll name them all and I'll get them right eventually. So, but it's, as I also, was it just glute?
No, I'm.
You said it confidently. I thought you were right. So lost the best running back in the NFL, give or take. Lost one of the best after the catch receivers, which is really important for this team. And banged up left tackle, best left tackle of my lifetime. So, and against what I said, I think is almost certainly the best defense. And like you said, Pat, it's one of the first times in a while where I can look at like a true star player and say, this is a bad matchup. I'm concerned. You're still starting, stars against the Browns, but it crosses your mind. So I'm going to say this was a confluence of road team, like playing on the road, playing banged up, mid-game banged up, especially, and really good defense. I'm not particularly concerned. It wasn't like the Browns showed something that would be replicated across the league and pick Brock Purdy apart. You're still starting.
I absolutely hate to have this mind sickness, but I sort of feel like the Vikings are going to cover. 7 points feels like a lot for this current 49ers. I wish it wasn't a primetime game.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins in primetime without Justin Jefferson. Good luck.
It's also an extra day of rest for the 49ers. If this was a noon Central game, I'd be thinking very strongly into just guaranteeing the Vikings were going to cover.
Yeah.
But, I lost a little faith once I just saw it was a primetime game. Denny, what did we see from the Vikings pass catchers in their first game without Justin Jefferson? KJ Osborne, he knew the system after all. Jordan, no one won. Not that there was a KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison debate, but no one won it. We kind of had the debate. There were no winners. What's the takeaway?
I think Jordan Addison won. I think we can say that pretty clearly.
I love to win with 3 catches for 20 yards or whatever it was.
28 yards in the touchdown. Got the only end zone target. Got 40% of the team's air yards.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So thanks for everyone for congratulating me on the Jordan Addison victory there. So Osborne, Addison, and Hawkinson were the only guys running around in every play. Brandon Powell chipped in with some slot routes, saw 4 targets on the day. Hawkinson was targeted on 33% of his routes, which is quite strong. So we're going to see more of that. If Hawkinson could ever not drop a ball, I think it would be good for his fantasy prospects.
Would be good.
He drops every single pass that comes his way. It's actually amazing. He has 47 drops on the season. So hey,
we got to get Denny sick more often. He's way more fun when he's
just one catch would be nice. So Addison's going to see, I think, more of the high value stuff. Osborne's out there. He's knowing the system and stuff.
Jordan, I don't know, man.
They had to get a bigger helmet for him.
I'm not calling this mission accomplished for Jordan Addison. Like the touchdown thing could be totally random.
42% of air yards.
Pat. Who cares? Didn't he attempt like 20 passes? Like who even cares?
Imagine when he attempts 30.
I mean, that's not Addison's fault, Pat. Listen, I rented an aircraft carrier and put a mission accomplished banner behind me after the Jordan Addison game.
Notice an extremely weird Jordan Addison stat. He does not have a catch longer than 16 yards since week 2. That doesn't seem like that should be possible.
He had a long DPI in one of those weeks because I watched. It was the Panthers game. Really, really long DPI.
I just would not be surprised if KJ Osborne's system knowing proves to be stubbornly enduring.
Stop. It's what gets him on the field. It's not what earns targets.
This offense is over, man. They're not even going to try to be explosive anymore.
No, you're right. You're right about that.
We both
Osborne plays right into their plan.
You saying Kirk Cousins is done without Justin Jefferson really brought this podcast together. All of us like, yep, you did get it. Like, that's good.
No, that is right. Absolutely. Like if the Vikings ever have neutral game script, they're basically just going to take a knee from there will be no effort at scoring points unless they're 4 scores behind in the fourth quarter.
Christian McCaffrey still not practicing as of Thursday. It seems like he might get a week. They should probably just give him a week. Any lean, although they do have an extra day. They're playing on Monday Night Football. Any lean on Jordan? Is Elijah Mitchell healthy? I know he kind of played in week 6. Talk about the most injury-prone guy in the entire NFL. If it's not CMC, is it going to be Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell?
I think it's Eli Mitchell, but I'd be shocked if we get one of the like really strong 20 carry plus performances, like where he was the clear starter and he took over a ton of the work that we used to see in his career. There's a reason he went out and saw 2 carries and had like -3 yards or something on those carries last week.
He went negative.
Yeah. There's a reason they only gave him 2 carries. He played fewer snaps, ran fewer routes than Jordan Mason. It's not because he's worse than Jordan Mason. I'm pretty sure
he might be. He definitely might be.
No, Eli Mitchell's good. I mean, maybe Jordan Mason.
Part of being good is not getting injured every 5th carry.
I don't know if I agree with that. Neither here nor there.
I would not at all call a case closed on Elijah Mitchell being better than Jordan Mason, but continue.
It doesn't
if
matter.
you factor in injury, sure.
It doesn't matter.
Also, to Denny's point, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. I think Elijah Mitchell, because as you would say, he knows the system. You want to talk about guys who know the system.
Oh, he knows it.
This fellow knows the system, and they have shown a very clear willingness to give him a bunch of carries. I'd be shocked if, like I said, he gets to that 20 carry threshold. They were clear about his usage last week, but I think he's better. I think the team also probably thinks he's better than Jordan Mason. And we
do they? I feel like Shanny is really souring big time on Elijah Mitchell. For once, I can empathize with Shanny. Like, if the guy can't ever stay on the field, you can't really even put him in your plans as like the number 2 running back. You kind of have to treat him as just like a totally like luxury role playing player who plays like a few series a game.
I will say, like, that's the concern. That's why I'm not confident in ranking, because I'm confident I'm confident personally Eli Mitchell is better, but I cannot translate that confidently into ranking him over Jordan Mason. I am going to have it that way, but I think ultimately results in a committee. I think it's an Eli Mitchell led committee, but the health is a total concern. I absolutely concede that the health is a concern for him, not only for the teams planning on using him, but also just for how much work he sees in any individual game. So Eli Mitchell, RB, assuming CMC doesn't play, like, I don't know, RB 27, RB 24. Does that sound fair?
Sounds fair. It might end up being a little higher than that. Denny, do you have any final thoughts there?
I really like Jordan Mason, but
the media won't let you report it. Mainstream media, NBC will not let you report that.
Listen, but it does, again, it literally doesn't matter if he's good.
Yeah, it actually does not. I wish you that was a bit, but it doesn't matter
No,
at all.
not a bit.
The pathetic Denver Broncos host the Packers as 1-point underdogs. Denny, do we expect last week's 3-man Broncos backfield committee to carry over to this one?
Man, it was rough. It was pretty rough last week. 7 rushing attempts for Jaleel McLaughlin, 10 for Javonte Williams. Michael Burton mixed in there.
He's a fullback.
The fullback, as he's known.
Yeah, that's a new position to me. And so yeah, I think that there is some value in the pass catching role, and I believe I actually have lost my tab for the Broncos.
We can kind of tell,
but yeah, I think you can. But I mean, Javonte, I think, is like a fringe starter. It's just, as long as Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte are in the lineup together, they're going to destroy each other's fantasy value, which is unfortunate because I think both of them are really good and could be fun for fantasy if they got the role to themselves. Unfortunately, you don't have that. With 6 teams on bye, this is the first time we're reporting this on the show. I think that Javonte Williams is a must start.
I've seen lots of people just like plunging Javonte Williams back in the top 20, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Kyle, the Packers offense is just a total mess. I know it's a good matchup in the Broncos, but for the pass catchers, is there really an argument to start anyone not named Christian Watson?
I'll give you one. Luke Musgrave. He 2 weeks ago returned from a concussion and played a very limited role. And then finally last week we saw him. It was last week, or maybe it was their last game. They might be coming off bye. 1 or 2 weeks ago they had a bye. But his most recent game, a 25% target share, an elite 0.29 targets per route run. He's like a legit tight end 1 candidate when he plays all the snaps, got concussed, and then played a limited role. He looks back to normal, and maybe even more so, getting ramped up heading into week 6, or week 7 now. So he's a total tight end 1 for me. Outside of that, no. Outside of that, they are rotating Jayden Reed and is a clear distant third, but Romeo Doubs not earning enough targets, not earning a ton of air yards. So no, it's Watson and it's Luke Musgrave, who I don't even want to say like play him because tight end stinks. He looks like a legit tight end 1.
I agree. He's ranked as tight end 1 this week. It's probably a 6 teams on bye type thing.
I think he
But
might stay 11 or 12 when we get some of these teams back. Maybe.
it's been like pretty much all floor for him too, but no tight end has a ceiling except for
I
two
know.
of them.
I think there are 2 100-yard games this year for tight ends. I think it's like a Kelsey game and a Goddard game. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but I know the Goddard game in week 4 or 5 was the first 100-yard game, and it's the longest in 20 plus years we've gone without getting a 100-yard game, like the longest into the season.
And that's when he caught like 5 passes on the scripted opening series too, just because they were trying to tell him to like not give up on the season. Like I know we're literally never passing to you, but
are you taking that away from my fantasy team, Chet? Is that doesn't count? Scripted plays don't count?
I do not. Not on this show. Does returning count this time for Aaron Jones, Denny? Anyone?
I mean, the setback is something that we should be, cognizant of. I mean, I actually didn't know it was a setback until very recently. Did they report it as such when he missed that most recent game?
Oh yeah. It was setback city after he came back and played like 8 snaps.
Yep.
I should log on to rotoworld.com.
He was Jovered.
Check the news. But if he is at full health or near it, then he's clearly the best backfield option because AJ Dillon, come on, man. Come on. That guy's Jover.
And I don't know why. Like, why are they even still giving him
carries?
carries?
Aaron Jones was like the Packers' best player in week 1. Like he was like their whole offense, basically, him and Dobbs. So I'm kind of excited to start Aaron Jones this week.
Tying together all that, I've seen people like getting excited about Jordan Love as a streamer, and even with 6 teams on bye, even if being the Broncos, man, I'm steering clear of that. I've seen enough Jordan Love attempts for like a lifetime this past month. I'm not sure I'm counting on this guy getting home against anyone.
Like this was a case. Like the regression files were on this case early and often, and the underlying numbers in the first 3 weeks of the season were so bad and so fraught for Jordan Love, and Packers folks did not want to hear it. They said, "Well, it doesn't. They're winning. Who cares?" And I was saying, "But he's not good." And so anyway, he's not good. And he's a desperation super flex play.
I'm gonna say there is maybe some streaming potential because teams out there lost like Jimmy Garoppolo, the 6 teams on bye. They lost Justin Fields. They recently lost Anthony Richardson. Someone's been struggling through their streaming options after losing Aaron Rodgers. It is a bad situation if you didn't get an elite quarterback. I think it's a very high risk proposition to play Jordan Love because he just ain't it.
No,
but not a bad team to stream against.
Would you rather play Jordan Love against the Broncos or Desmond Ridder against the Bucks?
Ridder.
I think I'll take Love.
I put Love one spot ahead of him. I wanted to rank Ridder higher, and I kind of chickened out and put Love there. But then it's like Baker, Pickett, Tyrod. We don't even know if Tyrod's playing. Hoyer. Ooh, I'm gonna stop.
None of
these.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a streamer.
He's a streamer. He's an ugly streamer, but teams are gonna do it, and I understand. I mean, I have him written up as for tomorrow the start sits, not because I wanted to, but it's hard to find 2 start quarterbacks that aren't elite, so I threw his name in the list.
Ending the show with the 39 total Washington football team at New York Giants extravaganza. We still don't know who the Giants quarterback is going to be, like I just referenced. Commanders 2-point road favorites. Will the line even move if Daniel Jones is named the starter? And maybe in the Commanders' favor. Too soon.
Jeez.
Too soon. Denny, I think he might be better, Tyrod Taylor. I really do.
I think he's better.
Yeah. That's not impossible. I mean, the thing is with Daniel Jones this year is last year he was conservative, super low ADOT, but he didn't take the sacks. He wasn't doing a ton of turnover-worthy plays. He was a distributor on a perfectly mediocre team. That can kind of work. But this year, he's not doing the safe distribution. He's doing terrible Daniel Jones mistakes. He's 6th in PFF turnover-worthy play rate, taking a sack on 15% of the teams of his dropbacks. 15% is so high. I cannot stress you enough that this guy is seeing ghosts, as we used to know the term with Sam Darnold, and he also has the worst offensive line. He had one of the worst offensive lines when they were healthy, and now they're starting like literally Justin Pugh on the broadcast straight off the couch. They are starting guys straight off the couch. So
Shane Lemieux injured in practice this week.
Yeah, I saw that on IR. He tore something like a pec, maybe?
His pec or something.
Yeah, bicep maybe. So yeah, on the IR, done probably for the year, I think. So yeah, it's brutal out there for a guy who is known to walk into pressure and his team is going to give up that kind of pressure in every single instance. Tyrod Taylor's sack rate of 7.3%, not great, but literally half of Daniel Jones, and he's 34th in turnover-worthy play rate in a good way. He's not making turnover-worthy plays. That's the best you can kind of hope for.
In his whole career, too. Too conservative, not turning the ball over.
Yep.
Denny will end the show with the Commanders' pass catchers. Terry McLaurin has finally kind of come back to life after people were getting really restless 2 weeks ago. What can we tell the folks about the Commanders' pass catchers?
Well, look, from a an overarching standpoint, the Commanders are just behind the Chiefs in pass rate over expected, second in the league, obviously. Hence only the Chiefs. Anyway, they're passing the ball a lot, so that helps. That helps fuel volume, even though they're not really targeting receivers at a high rate at all. Jahan Dotson is Jover completely. He was being instructed on how to hold field goal attempts, be the placeholder, get the kick holder guy. That guy.
I also would have thought they taught every player on a Big Ten roster how to do that. So it's surprising that Jahan Dotson doesn't know how to do that.
He was seen doing that in practice. So that's what they're working on with Dotson. McLaurin 20% target share through week 6. Curtis Samuel at 14.5%, and then Dotson at 13%. The air yard share is lopsided in favor of McLaurin. He's really their only guy who sees downfield shots. So I actually feel good-ish about Curtis Samuel here. Terry McLaurin is a pretty decent start against a not very good secondary. And then just for Logan Thomas got 2 high volume target games this year kind of by accident, because if you look at his first read target rate, it's outside the top 20 among tight ends. Okay. So he's never the plan. Okay. That's basically that's what that means, is like the plan is never let's throw it to Logan. It just happens to happen sometimes. So just keep that in mind when you're struggling between him and, I don't know, some other horrible tight end.
Keep that in mind. Keep everything we've written and said in mind this week. Go back, check out Denny and Kyle's podcast from earlier in the week. Check out Kyle's 32 stats. Check out the regression files from Denny. Check out my rankings, which I do apologize for. Literally the first time ever since I've been doing this in 2013. Do not include analysis. I'm going to add some on Friday. This is a little too hard with all the traveling. I do apologize. It will be updated. It'll be keeping the rankings updated, of course. So for Denny Carter, for Kyle Dvorchak, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you for listening. We'll be back later.